Again, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Joe Texera. I'm a product manager here at MuxLab. And I'm also joined by Edson, who is our Dante product manager, and Lori, who is our marketing manager. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation, so please hold your questions till the end. At that point, we'll open up the mics for everyone, and you can ask your questions. So today we're going to be covering MuxLab's Dante line of audio products solutions. We have a complete line of product, and we recently expanded the line, and we're going to be taking a look at the existing line that we've previously had, as well as the new additions to our Dante line of audio solutions. Okay, so our line now expands a vast number of Dante products. We're going to be covering them all today. We're going to be talking about our line of speakers. We have some encoder decoders that have I/O interfaces to analog audio, USB audio, and Bluetooth audio as well. We have some Bluetooth audio wall plates that also form part of this encoder decoder line. We have an amplifier, Dante Amplifier, that we're going to be covering, as well as a Dante DSP device. So we're going to take a look at all of these, and let's start with the speaker line. We have both a ceiling mount and column mount speaker. We'll start with the ceiling mount speaker. This device supports the Dante protocol. It is a ceiling mount 40-watt speaker, so it has a built-in 40-watt amplifier, integrated amp. The device is powered via PoE+, so you don't need any external power supply. You draw power from the Ethernet switch supporting PoE+. It has a 6.5-inch speaker driver, full-range speaker, and we offer software that allows you to control the speaker gain, as well as a 5-band equalizer to tailor the sound to your liking. We have an equivalent product or a similar product that's column mount. It's the one at the bottom of the screen. This device also supports PoE plus for power, but it is a 60-watt speaker system, so it has a 60-watt integrated amp. And this device also, by the way, it has 4 drivers in here inside the unit, and they're 3-inch drivers each. Again, it's a full-range speaker system. The one nice additional feature on this particular product is that it has, in addition to the Dante supporting Dante, it also outputs 8-ohm, a driver for 8-ohm speakers. So you can add an additional 8-ohm passive speaker to this device if you like, and have it supported. We have a passive speaker it's not specifically a Dante product, but it works with our Dante line. This particular speaker supports both 8-ohm mode as well as a 7100 volt speaker mode, which means in the 7100 volt speaker mode you can daisy chain these speakers from a 7100 volt amp, for example. We're going to be talking about our Dante amp in just a moment, and that particular amp has both an 8-ohm output as well as a 7100 volt speaker output. So this speaker can be used in conjunction with that Dante amplifier. It can also be used with the previous column speaker we just saw on the previous slide, which has that 8-ohm output I spoke about. You just dial in, you can see here on the far right, there's a dial where you can dial in 8 ohms, or you can set it up as a 100 volt speaker or as a 70 volt speaker, and you have drop off wattage settings that you can have to drop off a certain amount of watts onto that speaker, and you can chain them. So you've got an in and an out so that you can chain multiple speakers together from a 7100 volt system. This speaker supports a 6.25 inch driver, and it draws up to 40. It can support up to 40 watts of power. Next, we're going to be talking about our encoders, decoders. We have several types, which we're going to be covering today. This first one is a quad channel analog audio to Dante audio gateway or encoder decoder. It supports quad analog inputs and so 4-channel analog inputs and 4 single channel analog outputs to Dante. So you can both send analog signals into the Dante platform or pull Dante signals from the network and send them to analog devices. The 4 channels in and 4 channels out on the analog side support both balanced and unbalanced signals, and you can combine them into dual stereo if you like. We also have support for line level on those ports, as well as phantom 48 volt phantom drive. So if you've got a microphone, you can also support that as well on the analog side and send that into the Dante world and get those signals back as well. So here's an example how you use it. Of course, all of our Dante products are managed through the Dante controller software. So you could have some analog devices connected into this device, and it would output into the Dante world. So basically, you connect to an Ethernet switch and send the signals in Dante format to other Dante devices, be they sources or receiving devices like the Dante speakers. Next, we have an AV over IP product, which is part of our AV over IP line of products. This is a 4K HDMI AV over IP device. It is a transmitter. It operates with the equivalent receivers, AV over IP receivers. But this particular transmitter is special in that it also outputs a Dante audio signal, as well as the standard AV over IP signal that would be picked up by the AV over IP receiver. How it works is it has an HDMI in, which has both audio and video. It also has an embed, a 2-channel audio embed, so you can add an additional audio channel into this device, and it'll be sent over the network and picked up by the receiver. But in addition to that, both the audio on the HDMI and the audio being embedded, 2-channel audio being embedded on this port here, the 3.5 millimeter jack, both those signals get tapped and a copy is made in Dante format and put on the network. So you can be picked up by any Dante devices like the Dante speakers that we saw earlier. So this works with our AV over IP family of products as well, which we're not going to be talking about today, but I just wanted to talk about this one product because it does support Dante. Next, we have another encoder decoder. This one here is a USB analog audio, USB audio to Dante audio encoder decoder. So it both encodes and decodes, meaning it can send signals from USB to Dante and pick up Dante signals and send them back via USB. So a good example is on the next slide I'll show you. You can basically have, for example, a laptop connected to the USB port. You can then send signals from the laptop to the network and have it played on Dante speakers. You can also pick up Dante signals and record on your laptop if you wish as well. The device is PoE, so it's powered by an Ethernet switch, and it supports 2-channel Dante signals. And again, managed by the Automate Dante controller. Next, we have a 2-channel Dante to analog audio device. This is an encoder, so it will take 2-channel analog audio and encode it into Dante format. So basically, you can have your analog audio input, and it'll send onto the Dante network to be picked up by Dante speakers, for example, or other Dante devices. It is PoE. The device supports up to sample rates up to 24-bit in 44.1K, 48K, and 96K. And the device also supports AES 67 RTP audio transport, so you can support that as well. There are 3 levels of gain that you can set on this device. You can set it to plus 18 dBu, 0 dBu, which is the default, and also minus 10 dBV. So the dBV is for commercial applications, basically line level, and then you have the dBu for professional audio applications. You can power this through a 12-volt power supply if you like, a 12-volt DC power supply, but it is PoE, so you can power it through the Ethernet switch as well. So, example of how to use it: basically, you can have an analog source, audio source, feeding into the encoder, and it will then output into Dante format, so you can drive Dante speakers, for example. Again, all managed through the Dante controller software. Next up, we have equivalent product. This is the decoder version. So in this case, we will pick up Dante signals and decode it back into analog, 2-channel analog. So it does the reverse of the previous product. Essentially, they can work together. Here again, we still have same sample rate, so we support 44.1K, 48K, and 96K at 24-bit, at up to 24-bit. This product and the previous product both support balanced and unbalanced analog audio, so depending on how what you're working with. And you have the same gain controls as well, so you can output at plus 18 dBu or 0 dBu for professional applications and minus 10 dBV for commercial applications. Again, you can power via 12-volt power supply or PoE, so you can draw power from the Ethernet switch, and it does support AES 67 RTP audio transport as well. So here you see an example of an audio source in Dante format being sent to the device. It then outputs an analog output, which you can drive. You can send to analog audio equipment. In this case, we're showing an amplifier. So you could, if this was commercial, you could just set it to minus 10 dBV line level and send it into the commercial input, one of the inputs on this amplifier, and use that as a source signal to drive the speakers. Next, we have a Bluetooth audio device, a Bluetooth audio to Dante interface. So this device supports Bluetooth 5.0 for longer range and more stable communications via Bluetooth. It's a standard Decoder wall plate, so it just takes up one gang on a wall plate platform. It supports PoE, so you draw power from the Ethernet switch, and basically you can communicate supporting any, pretty much any Bluetooth device, such as iOS or Android devices, smartphones, tablets, things of that sort. Send the signals into the device, and it will send it to Bluetooth to a Dante environment. But this is an encoder and decoder, so you can send in either direction. So you can send from Bluetooth to Dante, or you can also pick up Dante and send it to your Bluetooth device. So if you had, for example, a smartphone, you could either use the smartphone as a source, or you could also pick up audio from the Dante environment and record it on your smartphone. So you see an example here where you can have a smartphone, for example, feeding into your Bluetooth device and then going into the Dante environment to play on Dante speakers. But again, if you had another Dante source here, you could also pick up that signal and record on your smartphone, if you like. This is a similar product, but it's a 2-gang wall plate and a Decoder wall plate, and it supports the Bluetooth function just like the previous model. In fact, it's identical, But in addition to that, it also supports analog sources and destinations. The upper two ports represent analog inputs. So we've got an RCA left and right, two channel, and we've got a 3.5 millimeter jack input as well for analog input, two channel audio. So you can have audio, analog audio signals being sent in, as well as Bluetooth signals being sent in to the device. And you also have an output, a 3.5 millimeter jack to channel audio output to feed into active speakers or into a stereo system input line level. So you can do both analog audio and Dante. Just one thing to mention on the input side, since you have two inputs, the way this works is if you only have the left and right connected, that's what's going to function. If you have both connected, the 3.5 millimeter will be the default. So it will be the one that will be functioning. So you can see an example here where you basically can have some headphones, for example, connected into the analog output. So you can monitor the signal. You can have a laptop or another device, an analog source device feeding into the analog input side, as well as having Bluetooth signals either being picked up or sent into the Dante environment from your smartphone, for example, or tablet via the Bluetooth module inside, Bluetooth to Dante module inside the device. So it's also PoE powered. So again, you draw power from your Ethernet switch. And of course, all of it is managed through your Dante controller. So that covers the encoder decoders in our offering. We're now going to talk about our power amplifier. The encoders and decoders that you've been seeing are, most of those are relatively new. Those are part of the new ones that we've added to our line. We're going to be looking at the power amplifier now. It's a 240 watt amplifier. It can be used as a single channel output at 240 watts or in stereo at 120 watts per channel. In stereo mode, you can support 4 ohm and 8 ohm speakers, as well as in mono mode, you can support a 7100 volt speaker system. So that 7100 volt speaker we saw earlier can be connected to this output here, and you can daisy chain multiple speakers and drop off a certain amount of wattage on each one. You've got 240 watts to work with. Or you can set up that speaker in an 8 ohm speaker mode and connect 2 of them in stereo to this port here, which has basically your standard outputs for passive speakers, 4 or 8 ohm speakers. This device has a Dante input, so basically you can pick up a Dante source from the network and play it on passive speakers. Okay. You can see an example of how that would work here. So basically you have the device connected to an Ethernet switch. This device is not PoE, it needs to be powered because it's got a very large amplifier built into it. So you would connect to your Ethernet switch to pick up a Dante source. And once you've got that, then you can drive either 4 or 8 ohm speakers, as well as 7100 volt speaker systems in a daisy chain format. And next up, we have an audio DSP, a Dante audio DSP. This device supports 4 channels, both on the analog side and on the Dante side. So we've got 4 single channel inputs, analog inputs, and 4 single channel analog outputs on this device, as well as 4 channel Dante in and out, so that you can pick up Dante sources and send them back into the Dante world, pick up analog sources back into the analog world or mix them into each other. So you can go from analog sources into the Dante world and vice versa, from Dante back into the analog world. So the device also supports phantom drive. The analog ports support both balanced and unbalanced inputs and outputs, depending on your needs. This device, basically as a DSP, it supports various functions, including gain control. It has a built-in equalizer, so you can tailor the sound to your liking. It has a mixer, which allows you to mix the sources coming in, and they can be a mix of analog and Dante sources. You can mix them and then send them back into the Dante world or into the analog world. You have a limiter to limit the output, so to avoid any possible clipping, things like that. And you have a compressor, which can be used in situations where you have some sounds that have very low levels and very high levels, and you can compress them a little bit so that they're more equalized on the high end and on the low end. So it's a very, very practical product to be used in conjunction with all of the products you've seen today. It comes with software to be able to manage the DSP functions of the product. The device is PoE, so you can power it through your Ethernet switch. And essentially, show you the software, that how it works. Basically, you have the option here on the software to manage the mixer, so you can mix the various inputs together. You have an equalizer, and you have both a compressor and a limiter, as well as phantom drive support, so that you can also have microphones going in and being able to manage those signals as well. Essentially, to be able to use this, you can have it centrally located and have all of your Dante sources spread out. You can have analog and Dante sources coming into the device. You have Dante and analog destination devices, so amplifiers, things of that sort, that you can send those sources to. And then you can mix the analog and Dante sources together, you can equalize the sound, adjust the gain, you can limit the output, and you can compress signals if you need to be able to tailor the sound to your needs and send that back both into the Dante world and the analog world at the same time. So it's a very nice, neat little package. It supports the software to do the DSP management. As we said, it's free software available on our website. And at the same time, all of the connectivity management, of course, is done through the Audinate Dante controller software. So that's the Dante lineup that we've covered today. We've again recently expanded the line considerably, and we're pleased to be offering this to you. What I'm going to do now, just give me a minute, please.